I thought everybody's mother toured the world singing to troops in their teenage years. I thought that was just normal. I am so proud of Beaumont because they have just rolled out the red carpet for us. People in Beaumont are so excited, and I am so honored to be able to tell this story for these older ladies that did this magnificent thing, and just to be rewarded in this way. I'm just humbled by being able to tell this story.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 4 of the Beaumont Beat video podcast, where we move with the heartbeat of the city. I'm your host, Tracy Kennick, and today we're going to be taking you back in time to tell you about a group of women from Beaumont that made huge impacts around the world from the 1940s to the 1970s. They were known as the Melody Maids, an all-girls singing group led by choir teacher Eloise Milam. Over 1,500 girls traveling the world performing for our U.S. troops. A documentary was recently released about this amazing group of girls who got their start on the stage of Beaumont's historic Jefferson Theatre back in 1942. In just a moment, we'll talk with Miss K.J. Connor, who is the producer and director of that film. She's going to give us the history of the group, tell us what it was like for those who were a part of this incredible legacy of morals, manners, and music. But first, a quick announcement. We have some good news from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. There's $855 million available nationwide to support veterans and their families. The funding opportunity is for nonprofit and community groups that support our veterans. If your organization is a private nonprofit or consumer cooperative, you may be eligible to apply. Applications are due February 19th by 3 p.m. If you'd like some more information, check out the city's Facebook page or go to va.gov. Now let's get to today's conversation on the Melody Maids. Miss K.J. Connor, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm honored to be here.
I'm so excited to talk about this topic. This is so much fun for the city of Beaumont, the history of Beaumont. And you became the producer and director. Talk a little bit about, start from the beginning. Tell us what the Melody Maids were all about, how they got their beginning.
Actually, Eloise Milam is a unique, fabulous woman. And she was a vocal teacher, a music teacher at some of the schools in Beaumont. And in 1942, somebody from the Jefferson Theatre called her and said, "We're doing a bond rally. Can you get together some of your students and come and sing?" Mm-hmm. So she did, and they raised $300,000 that day. I actually have a newspaper article.
1942, imagine 1942. What that would be worth today.
Imagine. So they were kind of on their way. She had a connection to the military because her husband was a retired military person.
Okay.
And had a connection with the Department of Defense and just started going places. I mean, literally just, do you want to go to Fort Polk? Yes. Do you want to go to Fort Hood? Yes. So they did a lot of things in Texas that were close and they could go on the buses. But then in 1952, the Department of Defense started paying their transportation. So they started going to Europe, to Cuba, to the Far East.
And what was their mission? Like, was it just to entertain, to bring some happiness to these troops
Yes.
away from their families?
It was to bring a touch of home, because there were a lot of organizations like the USO that were professional, and Bob Hope, toured and entertained the troops. These were like your sister coming to visit you in Munich, and they toured a lot of veterans hospitals. These girls, these teenage girls.
They were young.
14, 15 years old, going through a veterans hospital or through a military hospital and actually seeing, men that had amputated limbs. And it was an amazingly altruistic mission for them. And, Eloise, her tagline is morals, manners, and music.
I was just going to ask you that. It's on the back of your shirt.
Yeah,
that
it
was
is.
kind of what influenced some of what they did, right?
That was her creed. Mm-hmm. Everything she did, she used music as a vehicle to teach these girls morals and manners.
How did that influence what they sang?
Well, it was the 40s and the 50s. So things were a lot cleaner, a lot easier, less controversial. They didn't have Snoop Dogg and,
right.
Rap and things like
Sure.
that. And so, they were singing, Andrew's Sisters and things like that.
Did they sing songs from like popular songs, or did they sing?
They did. Yeah, they did. I mean, they were really the heartbeat, though, of music at that time.
Now, your mama was part of the group as well. Do you think that it influenced their lives outside of the group, and in what ways?
At that time or later?
Like either way.
Actually, my mother had a ballet studio, and through my lifetime, she influenced tens of thousands of dancers, guiding them through their careers, their college choices, teaching them manners and morals. And she's only one. She's only one of those 1,500 women. So when I started meeting them, there's another one, Dr. Betty Stead, that she's of the same genre as my mother. You know, she worked at Lamar University, influencing college students, and then she moved over to University of Houston. She dedicated her life to, you know, mentoring young people. They all did.
And these girls got quite an education traveling the world. Where did they go for World War II and these different deployments for these?
Well, they spent, the summer of 56, they spent 3 months in Europe, a month in England, a month in France, and a month in Germany. So that was a huge trip. They also went to Cuba. They went to Hawaii several times. The Far East was a really big trip. That was more in the 60s because of Vietnam, you know. So everywhere. They went to Greenland.
And Eloise took these 25 young girls. Was she alone with them and just traveling the country?
A lot of times she was. I mean,
That's
but
incredible.
the thing is these girls knew that if they stepped out of line, Eloise would send them home and replace them immediately with another. There was another girl standing there waiting to be part of it.
What was some of the stories that you heard because you produced and directed this film on these young women? What were some of the most, touching?
It's amazing how many girls, they were girls, how many girls met their husbands.
Really?
As a Melody Maid. So I can tell you for certain, my mother's best friend, Audrey Mallett, she was the only Catholic at Fort Polk on a trip. So they appointed this man, Frank Marola, to take her to Mass. And they fell in love. 3 years later, he had a 3-year deployment at Fort Polk. So by the time she turned 18, they met when she was 15. By the time she turned 18, they got married.
I bet a lot of these soldiers were just enamored by this beautiful group of girls. And that had to be hard for Eloise, if 14, 15-year-olds saying, oh, no, you're in this corner with your morals. And, but I'm sure that a lot of them did, take a liking to
It was the
things.
times.
Yeah.
I think Eloise became kind of challenged by 1972 because things were happening. The fabric of the country was changing, and Vietnam was not popular. World War II was, and then Korea was kind of in the gray area. She always said that she wasn't opposed to marriage, but that wasn't their focus. So, and she told the girls, if one of the guys wants to take you on a tour of town or something like that, it's fine, but he has to take all 25.
Okay, good. You have a lot of people watching after you.
Yeah.
So have you heard from any of the stories of the men?
Do you know, this is one of the most surprising things about the whole project. 1 million soldiers saw them perform around the world in the 30-year period. I have not met one that saw them perform.
Really?
Not one. However, I think as the film becomes more widespread and gets more traction, I'm certain that those military men will come forward and say, I was there, I was at Fort Hood,
Okay, I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about producing and directing the film coming up in just a moment. We're going to take a short pause in the conversation to watch a bit of the trailer for the film, The Melody Maids movie. Such an incredible story. Take a look.
From the heart of Beaumont, Texas, came a sound that changed the world.
It's a yellow rose in Texas that I am going to see.
During World War II, the Korean conflict, and the Vietnam War, more than 1,500 teenage girls became beacons of hope across decades of conflict.
I'll kiss her when I find her and greet her tenderly.
Led by music teacher Eloise Milam, they traveled to the farthest corners of the globe. They journeyed to military bases, hospitals, and war zones, armed only with their music and their courage. They brought more than songs. They carried hope, smiles, and the reminder that home still cared.
She cried so when I left laughter.
For 30 years, they stood as voices of courage, goodwill, and grace. Their lives were changed by the world they encountered and the woman who inspired them forever. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Melody Maids, wartime teenage heroes delivering encouragement with morals, manners, and music.
The yellow rose of Texas beats the bells of Tennessee.
And you can see the entire documentary honoring the Melody Maids during a special showing at the very place where it all began, Beaumont's historic Jefferson Theatre. There will be 2 showings this Saturday, January 17th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Tickets are just $10 and can be purchased by searching for the Melody Maids movie on Ticketmaster. Come celebrate Beaumont's history right where it all began. And as always, you can stream this show and past episodes of the Beaumont Beat on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else that you listen. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channels, like this episode, and share it with others so they too can enjoy it. And we're always looking for new topics, so drop us a comment to let us know what you would like to see in future episodes. Now let's get back to our conversation on the Melody Maids with Miss KJ Connor. And I want to talk a little bit about how Beaumont has been able to preserve some of the archives and things from the Melody Maids. And people can really even go check that out at the Tyrrell Historical Library. Talk about that.
Definitely. They have agreed to display the memorabilia on that Saturday. They're going to open from 3 to 5, which is after the 2 o'clock show, but before the 7 o'clock show.
Right.
So they'll have costumes and photos and scrapbooks displayed.
And interesting, you were telling me earlier of how they were able to collect these different pieces.
When the Melody Maids, when their director, when Eloise left the Rose Room at the Julie Rogers Theatre, all of that memorabilia came over to the Tyrrell. And they have it. And so they're working on displaying it more often, and for longer.
What types of things do they have?
They have everything. They have 40-something pairs of white cowboy boots that the Melody Maids wore. No, I'm not kidding. They just, and they have lots of costumes, and they have lots of photos. They have lots of scrapbooks.
And was that, I'm guessing that was a big reason that you were able to do the film, because you had these pieces, right?
Definitely. A lot of it is digitized, and it is on their archives. If anybody wants to go to the Tyrrell Historical Library and look at their archives, all the photos are there.
I'm interested in knowing, because you said that your mama was part of the Melody Maids, and you remember a picture of you at 1 or 2 sitting on Miss Eloise chair in her,
on the Lazy Susan,
oh, is it Lazy
on her
Susan?
kitchen table.
Yeah. Okay. And what inspired you to say, I've got to be the one to do this? Because you hadn't had any real experience as a director or producer, but you took it upon yourself. Talk about that.
I did. The way that this happened, Eloise wrote a musical about Spindletop. She premiered it in 1951 on the 50th anniversary, and it was spectacular. So my sister and I wanted to produce that on Broadway, and on some kind of Broadway-like medium. So I had a friend who was dating a guy that did PBS, and he was a writer, he was a performer, he's a musician. So I took him the whole thing on the musical, and I said, analyze this and tell me what you think. So a couple of weeks later, he came back, he said, it's great, I love it, but the real story is the Melody Maids. And I said, really? I thought everybody's mother toured the world singing to troops in their teenage years. I thought that was just normal. It didn't seem extraordinary to me. But to an outsider, he looked in and said, oh my gosh, the Melody Maids, this is a story.
And some 80 years later, we're now telling it. Yeah. What's been the feedback that you've gotten?
I am so proud of Beaumont because they have just rolled out the red carpet for us. People in Beaumont are so excited, and I am so honored to be able to tell this story for these older ladies that did this magnificent thing, and just to be rewarded in this way. I'm just humbled by being able to tell this story.
And explain what's going to happen on the 17th. There will be 2 different showings and then a question and answer period as well. And what are you hoping will be accomplished by all of this?
Well, I hope when people watch the movie, after the movie, the audience is full of questions. You know, it definitely provokes a lot of curiosity. You know, how did this happen and who was in it and, you know, that kind of thing. So the question and answer is really important. Also, I give an award. We call it the Eloise. I gave it to James Dick at the Round Top Film Festival where we made our world premiere. So this year I'm giving an Eloise Award, but it's a secret right now.
Is that for somebody who's inspiring?
Yes,
Okay.
it's somebody that molds and mentors young people in artistic pursuits.
So what's your overall hope after people see the film? Like that they will become more inspiring, or what's your hope after they see it, or just appreciate part of Beaumont history?
Well, I think when I started, and still it's a big tenet of what I want choir directors in Illinois, Idaho, Hawaii, Pennsylvania. I want them to see this movie and think, I could do that. I could take my group to, you know, wherever they have connections, Mexico City or the Far East, or, you know, I want choir directors to understand that this is something that's valuable for young people to travel and to perform around the world. So I would like to inspire them to do this, you know.
Yeah, because it's something that I'm sure Eloise, when she did that performance, the one performance at Jefferson Theatre, she had no idea that it would turn into a 30-year experience.
And
right?
how many lives she would touch, not just the performers, not just the teenage girls, but all the people that they perform for. And really the legacy of Eloise is that pebble in the pool. She is the pebble in the pool. She touched my mother. She touched me. She touched my children. She touched my granddaughter.
Incredible.
And she's only one of them.
Right. And there will be some actual Melody Maids at the performances.
Yes. We had 22 in Round Top, and they came to the front of the stage and sang after the movie.
Will we get to hear that? And they will be
Yes.
there, about
Yes.
20 of the Melody Maids. They can talk to them and get their perspective as well.
Oh, definitely. They love to talk about their time in the Melody Maids.
Final question. Are there still organizations, events, and traditions in Jefferson County that honor their legacy? I know you talked about the Tyrrell Historical Library.
It's really just Tyrrell and now the Jefferson. And I mean, we're so thrilled to be able to do this. I have to tell you, my mother went to movies at the Jefferson Theatre, and I walked in yesterday and I was just overcome. I mean, I thought to myself, oh my God, my mother came here to watch movies as a teenage girl, had first dates here and all that. It was really overwhelming. The building is just beautiful and everybody here is so nice, but really that overwhelming feeling of being, and it's going to be amazing for these old ladies to come in here, you know,
I'm
that
sure
grew
there will
up
be
here.
Lots of tears shed.
It's amazing.
And you did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, go figure. I did not do it myself. I have to give credit to my team. My assistant, Lisa Cottle, my sister was instrumental, Doug Forrest, my co-producer and co-director, and then I have a co-executive producer, Michael Kane, that's with M3 Films. That, you know, I had a great team.
Well, I think Eloise would say you deserve an Eloise Award for this vision that you had 2 years ago you brought to fruition. So,
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much
you.
for being here and
Thank you for having
sharing
me.
this incredible story with Beaumont and the world, really, and letting them know about what the Melody Maids did. And your mom and all of those right here in Beaumont, those 1,500 women that went out, or young girls, I guess, and went out and helped these troops. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
this
you
story.
so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
And next month, we'll be celebrating the Lunar New Year. The City of Beaumont invites you to join us as we celebrate the Year of the Horse with a traditional lion dance performance on Thursday, February 19th at 5 p.m. at Riverfront Park in downtown Beaumont. This event is free. It's open to the public, so bring your family, your friends, and join us for an afternoon of culture, community, and celebration. And that's all for this edition of the Beaumont Beat, where we move with the heartbeat of the city. I'm Tracy Kennick. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.